The first time Lira Cain stepped onto the alien training deck, the floor hummed beneath her boots, and every instructor laughed. They didn't laugh because she was weak. They laughed because she was human. I still remember the sound. A clicking, echoing chorus of alien amusement rippling through the massive chamber, bouncing off alloy walls carved with symbols older than Earth's continents. That laughter followed her like a stain, and in that moment, something inside her quietly fractured. But that was only the beginning. The Axiom Spire orbited a dead star, a colossal ring-shaped academy built by the Coalition to train emerging species representatives. That was the polite phrase. The truth was harsher. We were curiosities. Experiments. Proofs of concept. Humanity had been invited only 5 years earlier, after we accidentally detonated a subspace relay during a faster-than-light test and announced our existence to half the galaxy in a burst of electromagnetic screaming. The Coalition didn't respond with war. They responded with interest. And interest, as Lira would learn, could be crueler than hatred. She stood alone at the center of the deck, a slim woman in a plain gray Earth-issued combat suit, surrounded by towering beings of chitin, crystal and liquid light. Instructors hovered on anti-grav platforms, their eyes, too many of them, focused on her with open skepticism. Initiate Cain, droned Overseer Kethrix, a mantid-class alien whose mandibles clicked with every syllable. Your species' physical output ranks in the lowest percentile among Coalition members. Explain why you believe yourself fit for combat integration. Lira swallowed. She could feel the gravity here, 1.3 standard, pressing on her bones. Her muscles burned just standing. Still, she lifted her chin. Because Earth gravity made us strong, she said. Stronger than you think. That earned another wave of laughter. What I saw next changed everything. Kethrix's multifaceted eyes narrowed. Demonstrate, he said, gesturing toward the training apparatus. The apparatus was a nightmare of alien engineering. A modular combat field that could simulate battlefield conditions from 1,000 worlds. For Lira, they set it to minimal stress. That alone was an insult. She stepped forward, heart pounding. Her thoughts flickered, not fear, but memory. Earth. The cracked concrete of her childhood city. The way gravity had always pulled. Never forgiving, never gentle. She had grown up lifting scrap metal to survive. Her body shaped by a planet that demanded resilience or death. She placed her hand against the deck. Begin, Kethrix ordered. Lira drew back her fist and punched. The deck didn't shatter. It screamed. A concussive shockwave rippled outward, lights flickering as alien alloys groaned. Hairline fractures spiderwebbed beneath her knuckles, spreading faster than anyone could process. Then, with a sound like a dying star collapsing, the training floor split in two. Silence fell like a guillotine. None of us were prepared for the truth. The spire went into lockdown within seconds. Emergency fields snapped into place, sealing the ruptured deck and isolating Lira in a shimmering containment bubble. She stood there, staring at her own hand, knuckles bleeding, eyes wide with shock. She hadn't meant to do that. The instructors stared too. Their laughter was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. Fear. Kethrix floated closer, mandibles trembling. What enhancement procedures have been applied to you, human? None, Lira said softly. I'm like this because of Earth. That was when the questions began. And they didn't stop. Over the following days, Lira was pulled from her dormitory again and again, subjected to scans, interrogations, and simulations. Coalition scientists poked and prodded, their instruments humming as they measured bone density, muscle fiber composition, neural response times. The results disturbed them. Human musculature, adapted to Earth's gravity, demonstrated explosive force output when unshackled from our homeworld's constant pull. Our bones were denser. Our tendons coiled like springs. In lower gravity we were walking weapons. But that discovery came with a shadow. Every night, Lira dreamed of Earth burning. She had watched it happen from orbit years earlier, when a rogue Coalition faction had tested a planetary suppression weapon too close to our system. They called it an accident. The oceans boiled. The skies turned red. Billions died. Lira had survived because she was already off-world, recruited early for cultural exchange. The guilt never left her. And the Coalition knew it. Commander XYRR, a tall obsidian-skinned alien with eyes like molten gold, visited her cell on the 10th cycle. He was not an instructor. He was military. "You are valuable," Exwar said, his voice smooth and cold. "Your species represents a strategic asset." "I'm not a weapon," Lira replied. Exwar smiled. "All effective tools deny their purpose at first." That was only the beginning. Training intensified. Gravity fluctuated. Combat drones attacked without warning. Other recruits, alien and otherwise, were encouraged to challenge her, to test her limits. Some out of pride. Some out of fear. She beat them all. But every victory cost her something. She began to feel isolated, even among the small human contingent aboard the Spire. They looked at her with awe and resentment. Why her? Why not them? The mid-cycle evaluation changed everything. During a simulated battlefield exercise, the environment glitched. Safeties failed. The deck transformed into a hellscape of collapsing structures and live plasma fire. Recruits screamed as drones turned lethal. This wasn't an accident. Lira knew it the moment she saw Xyr watching from the observation deck. His expression unreadable. She fought through the chaos, dragging injured recruits, alien and human alike, out of danger. Her muscles tore. Her lungs burned. She felt bones crack. Then she reached the core. A reactor overloaded. Moments from detonation. If it blew, the entire Spire would die. She could run. Instead, she braced herself against the reactor housing and pushed. The force tore through her like lightning. Pain exploded. The world went white. But the reactor stabilized. When Lira collapsed, unconscious, the Coalition faced a truth they could no longer ignore. Humans weren't weak. We were dangerous. The revelation split the Coalition in two. Some saw opportunity. Others saw extinction. XYRR belonged to the latter. When Lira awoke, she was not in the medical wing. She was in a chamber of shadows, bound by energy restraints that burned against her skin. "The Council has decided," XYRR said, stepping forward. "Human potential represents an unacceptable variable." "You're going to kill me," Lira whispered. "Yes," he replied calmly. "And then Earth survivors will be managed." Rage surged through her, hot and wild. Not just for herself, but for everyone she had lost. She remembered Earth's gravity. Its weight. Its pain. She pulled. The restraints shattered. What followed was not a fight. It was a reckoning. Lira tore through the chamber, her movements blindingly fast, each strike fueled by grief and fury. XYRR fought back with advanced weaponry, energy blades slicing the air, but it wasn't enough. When she struck him, the floor cracked again. He fell, stunned, staring up at her in disbelief. "You were wrong," Lira said, voice shaking. "We're not tools." She left him alive. The alarm she triggered echoed across the Spire, rallying allies, human and alien, who had watched her actions, her compassion, her restraint. Together, they seized control of the station, broadcasting the truth of the Coalition's plans to every member world. The galaxy listened. In the aftermath, treaties were rewritten. Earth survivors were granted protection. Humans were no longer curiosities. We were equals. Lira stood once more on the training deck, now rebuilt, now reinforced. New recruits watched her with something like reverence. She placed her hand against the floor, but this time, she didn't punch. She smiled. Because true strength, she had learned, wasn't about breaking the ground beneath your feet. It was about choosing not to.